Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over Tropical Depression 5. I already did make a video today. This is the second uploaded of the day. I just did want to go ahead and cover this. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. If you do enjoy, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below. If you're new, you can. If you're a returning visitor, you can just leave a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. So you can see right here, right now, this was at 11 a.m. on your Saturday. It's 4 p.m. right now. Not the greatest update, but that's still a while ago, but it's probably still a tropical depression. And it's expected to be a tropical depression until late tonight. But by tomorrow morning, around 8 a.m. on Sunday, maybe even 2 a.m. tonight, we will definitely have to see. But especially by 8 a.m. tomorrow, we should be at a tropical storm. Now, we are expected to stay that way until your Tuesday around 8 a.m. So once we get to your Tuesday through your Wednesday, we will have some kind of transition between a tropical storm and a hurricane. Now, the question is, that's what they're saying right now. But a lot of times this can change. So will we have rapid strengthening, or will we stay this way? Now, there are some reasons that it could strengthen a lot more, and there are some reasons that it couldn't. So there's a lot of dry air north of the system, but can it make a pathway in these really warm waters? And there's not much wind shear. Well, the wind shear is backing off because we're already starting to get a lot of these systems to come through. Since we do have a neutral pattern now, we are going to have to see how it does do. But these northern facing islands, I'm not sure what these are called. I do apologize. But if you do, you definitely do know what I'm talking about. But it should be there by around our Tuesday. So if we were to move into your Wednesday, you can see it's back out into sea, and still by your Thursday, it's in the ocean still. So we will definitely have to see where it is in this cone. So usually in these cones, if you're new to these, you can see how we have this whole big cone. It can go anywhere in this cone. So it can go on this side, or it could go on this side, or it could go straight down the middle. Where you see this right here, that does not really matter right now. It could go anywhere in this cone. So if we were to keep going, you can see how it does enter the Puerto Rico area. It could. The Dominican Republic, it could. Haiti, it does get close to you too, since you're right beside the Dominican Republic. But we are going to have to see what does happen. It is expected to be a hurricane by your 8 a.m. on Wednesday. But right now, we're only at a 35-mile-per-hour tropical depression. If we were to go ahead and move on to your wind speed probabilities, you can see how we are definitely expecting these tropical storm force winds in these front-facing islands, especially. And then into your Puerto Rico, we have a 40-50% chance right now of it happening. I do think we will definitely see tropical storm force winds as of what we're seeing right now. And the Dominican Republic, you're at the very edge, so we really aren't sure yet. But you do have a tiny chance right now. We just got to wait and see where it will go in this broad area. And then they will, raise the probability. They just kind of got to see where it's going to go. If we were to go to your hurricane wind speed probability, you can see right now they're not really showing much, but anywhere in this area they're already thinking about it being a hurricane hurricane speed probability for winds. So you can see how close it is to a lot of these islands, especially Puerto Rico. It gets pretty close to. We will definitely have to see what it does there. If we were to go to your arrival time of winds really quick, and we'll move on after this, you can see definitely, maybe even by your Monday, we could already see some winds in these front-facing islands. They won't be very intense yet, but that is the earliest arrival we'll have, so that's the earliest it'll happen. Definitely by your Tuesday, we are expecting it there, and then your earliest arrival time of winds would be on your Wednesday around Puerto Rico, and then onward into the Dominican Republic also. So this will definitely change. Will it get slower? Will it get faster? Time will tell. But right now, this is what we're thinking. Okay, so if we were to go ahead and move on to the model guidance, these are the spaghetti models. If you really don't know what this is pretty much just a lot of models put together, and we're kind of just seeing how they do agree and where are they agreeing. So you can see we are expecting it to hit around the southern part of these islands, the front-facing islands, and you can see Puerto Rico, you are kind of in the path of this. This one's a little south of you, but you can see it does move into the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then it keeps moving onward towards these areas. So we are going to have to see what it does do after that. But it's looking pretty likely the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico could be in this path. We're definitely going to see somewhere on these front facing islands. We are expecting something there. So that's what we're seeing right now with these specific spaghetti models. If we were to move on to your GEFS models, this is just pretty much multiple runs of the GFS model. And you can see how this is kind of agreeing. You can see it's a little bit more south, but a lot of the models can go a little south right here, you can see. But you can see how still it's kind of agreeing somewhere around the Dominican Republic. Puerto Rico, some of the models are taking you out that way. Some of the models are going up towards the, going just north into more of the Atlantic. Some of them are taking it here into the Caribbean. Were we already? Sorry, my brain just died for a second there. It just kind of stays south of all the islands is what I was trying to say. And it could cross into the Gulf or move into Mexico. We will have to see. But we're just going to keep going on and look at the next spaghetti models. These are your GEPS, so this is a different run of models. And you can see how some of these are taking it into Brazil. Not Brazil. It might be Brazil. I don't know. Venezuela, Colombia, Guyana, maybe. Guyana is not looking very likely, but Venezuela, maybe. I'm not really expecting that, but we will have to see. But you can see how they do get really close. So a lot of the models do take it south of all the islands. Some of them do take it to the Dominican Republic. Some take it through the northern part of those facing islands and parts of Puerto Rico. Some of them take it all the way up into the Atlantic from the Dominican Republic. And then, of course, this big bulk is through here, is where that big bulk is. Some of them are taking it into some of these areas, which a lot of the models aren't saying, a lot of the other models. But you can see how some of them, a lot of them, do just end up taking them through the Dominican Republic into Cuba and into the Gulf, which is what I am scared of the most, because that's where the warmest of our waters are, and we do have a lot of favorable conditions there. Now, if we do move in near the southeast coast into the Atlantic, there is some good spots for development. So if it was to move into South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, there's a lot of concern there too. Okay, so if we were to move into more spaghetti models, I know there's a lot of these in this forecast. We usually do have to use these really far out. This is the intensity guidance. So this is how strong we do think it could get. Now, this is pretty much saying by around probably 4, 5, 6 days from now, it is expected to be at a Category 1. Most likely just 4 days. Maybe a little bit more, depending on how this does do. But right now we're thinking about 4 days until we do reach that Category 1 strength. And some of the models are taking it to a little bit beyond just the low spots of the Category 1. So one model is taking it to a Category 2. That is definitely possible. A lot of the models aren't taking it there yet, just because it's early on. That always happens. And then once we have once they all start to come together a little bit more, that will rise a lot of times. But right now, Category 1 is what we're expecting, just because when it hits those islands, it could definitely get a little weaker. If it doesn't hit the islands, it goes south of them all, it could do way more. Or if it goes north of them all, it could do a lot more. Okay, if we were to go ahead and move on to the GFS model, this is the relative humidity. You can see how we have a lot of this dry air I was talking about that is north of the system. Now, the big heavy dry air would be northwest of this system. Now, you can see a little bit, northeast of the system, and some of this northwest of this system, or just west of it, is not as bad. It still is there. Dry air does always eat in on these things, but you can see how it's not as bad, and it could defeat a lot of that dry air. And by your Tuesday, we could see some of that move in. So if you're anywhere in those areas of, let's take a look at some of the names of those islands. I do want to get y'all a little bit. I do want to show y'all, name some areas. Castries, Kingstown, Bridgetown, Fort-de-France, Rosal, I don't really know the name of that. Les Abens, St. John's, Basseterre, Marigot. You can see those are a lot of the areas that it could be moving in by then. A lot of those southern islands we were talking about is the most likely right now. And you can see the GFS model does take it out back into the ocean. Brings a lot of that moisture towards Puerto Rico and to the Dominican Republic. And if we were to go ahead and go into the Western Atlantic, you can see how it does continue on a lot of that moisture, and you can see how it does kind of enter Central America on this model, but you can't really see it clear. There's just a lot of that moist air here. So there's a possibility it could go into like Central America, like pretty much like Mexico, around that. I wouldn't say Mexico. I forgot if Mexico's in Central America. Anywhere in that Central America, Mexico area, it could be going into, as I was talking about earlier, or some of these areas could be affected in the Gulf. Now, if this was to move into the Atlantic, we do have some of those. We do have a little bit of that moisture in the air, and we also do have really warm waters. But you can see there's a lot of dry air as we get towards Virginia off the coast, maybe even parts of off the coast of North Carolina. Mainly, this is just because of, pretty much this is just, we have a lot of cool downs coming soon, and that's just one of the cool downs where a lot of that dry air is with that high pressure system. So that is mainly what that is, just that high pressure system is kind of, has a lot of that dry air. Okay, if we were to go ahead and look at this really quick on windy.com, the rain and thunder, this is the European model. If we were to look at the GFS model, of course it's in the same spot, just because this is real time, right here. And if we were to move into your, let's go to your 3 p.m. on Sunday. You can see the European model does have this pretty well put together. Should be a tropical storm by this time. The GFS model also does. It has a little bit more west, moving a little faster. The European model doesn't move as fast. And if we were to move into your Monday at 7 a.m., the European model has it near Bridgetown, Roselle, those areas, and you can see the GFS model has it around the same area. It doesn't show it as intense, but that's just the resolution a lot of times of the GFS model. It's not the best to look at. For looks at least. And by your Monday night or evening, you can see both of these have it really close to the islands. The GFS by Monday night already have it towards Bridgetown, but the European model has a little backed up and a little bit more intense. If we were to move into your 5 a.m. on Tuesday, you can see how this still hasn't really made landfall. The center of the system's still right here. And if we were to go to the GFS model, it's already here, a little bit more south, not too much more south, just a little bit, and a little bit more west. But if we were to move into your Tuesday night around 8 p.m., you can see the European model does have this right over these areas of Fort-de-France, Roselle, and the GFS model has it just all over the place. It's not really a set area. You can kind of see the center somewhere around here. You can kind of see it. But you can see it's very disorganized after it hits these islands. Just on the GFS model, usually it doesn't look put together just because the resolution is terrible on the GFS model. But you can see by your Wednesday at 9 a.m. it's back out in the ocean with the European model. And the GFS model, it is too not as organized. It's getting its act together. We're going to keep going with the European model now. I just did want to kind of show what could happen on those front-facing islands. But if we were to move into your Wednesday at 8 p.m., I actually am about to go back to the GFS, but this is the European model. Around your 8 p.m. hour, it's right south of Puerto Rico. Not looking good. It has some really good winds, it looks like. If I was to go look at this, you can see some of the wind gusts already. We're already looking at some 75 mile per hour winds, as you were seeing. But this is Category 1 strength wind gusts. The winds aren't as much, but usually that's how the models are. Especially, this is just one model of the European. If we were to look at the EPS, which is many model runs, it would be a little different. The GFS model has us way more south. This is where they kind of do split up. So once we get past these front-facing islands around here, the GFS does take it around here, and then the European takes it a little bit more north. So you'll see how much of a difference we'll see in a second. If we were to look at your Thursday around 12 p.m., 1 p.m., you can see how it's in the Dominican Republic with the European. The GFS, we're kind of in that area, which is actually kind of coming together, but the GFS just kind of did go a little bit more south. If we were to go to your Friday at noon, you can see the European model has broken it up, but you can kind of see a little bit of it still there. The GFS is kind of a little different. you can see how it's still a little back. A lot of that moisture is very disorganized. Just like the European does have it, it still does have a lot of those thunderstorms and showers mixed in with it. And if we were to just go on right now, we're just going to go on because I really don't want to miss it. If we were to scroll, it would be a little too fast. But if we were to go into your Saturday at 12 p.m., you can see it's moving north. And you can see how by Sunday the 1st, we're going to have to see, because a lot of that moisture did move into the Gulf. I don't know if it's from a different system or what, but you can see we do have a lot of moisture in the Gulf, and it's really hard to predict. Anywhere in here is where that moisture did go. It's very hard to see just because we're so far out, but you can see the GFS model. It's way, way different. So we are definitely going to have to take a look at this throughout the next few days because, you know, these are really different. Now, we're just going to go back to the islands because that's where we are seeing, we're really sure what's going to happen. And you can see the rainfall is always a huge problem, especially across these islands because, you know, we don't have as good tech here. You can see how across some of the islands we have 3 inches of rain. As it moves back into the ocean, it can strengthen a little bit. Puerto Rico, if it does go a little bit south of you, we could be a little bit okay with the European model. But you can see with the GFS model, a lot of that rain is spread out a little bit more. But Puerto Rico, you still look a little spared. So Puerto Rico, you're definitely going to have to look what does happen with this. But you can see we have a lot of mountainous regions here, which is, we can see a lot of landslides, which is never good. But you can see how it's spread all over the place. The Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and this front-facing islands. We do need to worry about flooding. I'm very concerned for this system. But yeah, guys, I hope y'all did enjoy today's video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below. We know what it's going to do until the Dominican Republic, but after that, I don't know. No one really does know. That's why we do have these spaghetti models to kind of look. So it could enter the Gulf, could go into the Atlantic. Some are even crashing it into this area, which I'm not really expecting right now. But there's a lot of area that we are going to have to see. But I did hope y'all enjoyed today's video. A lot to keep going. We will have a lot of videos on this over the next few days. But yeah, guys, I hope y'all did enjoy today's video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.